Thank you, Les Concora. Can I acknowledge the generosity of Minister Hogan and indeed Deputy Troy for allowing the couple of minutes that I have. A couple of things, Les Concora. In the context of political reform, can I make this point? What happened in the House this morning, I think, is an example of how we need to reform the business of this House. We had a situation this morning where the order of business went over, leaders' questions went over, and then it eats into other people's time, and therefore narrows the scope from within which someone can make a contribution on a very, very important piece of legislation and a very topical subject. The point that I'd like to raise, I want to welcome the initiative in relation to by-elections. I think one of the many failings of the last administration was to allow by-elections to go on and to avoid the political responsibility of holding those by-elections. Now, that, in my view, is an assault on democracy, because you are preventing people's right to full representation in terms of their complement of TDs. Sadly, we had people who passed away, and also there are a number of resignations. So I welcome Minister Hogan's initiative in terms of holding by-elections within 6 months of when the vacancy arises. The other issue, and if I had more time I would go into it substantially, Les Caherlick, and it's the whole issue of the role that the backbencher has, or the limited role that a backbencher has. We see, for example, as evidenced in this House in recent weeks, and particularly since the election, obviously, newer backbench TDs who find it very difficult, to become part of the process and to contribute to debates and to be allowed that latitude and to be given a platform from which they can articulate their views, which is primarily, of course, the reason that we would have been elected to this House in the first instance. Now, can I cite an example in the House of Commons last Corla, and that's the Backbench Business Committee, a group of MPs from both sides of the House who come together, and they, at least one day's business, they will propose and they will organise an order themselves. That Backbench Business Committee was utterly radical in terms of the House of Commons, and it was the first time in 100 years that a government didn't have a complete monopoly in terms of the way business is done. Can I say in conclusion, Les Concora, a lot has been said about the Seanad, and it should go, should be abolished or should be reformed, and there's a kind of interminable debate about the future of Seanad Éireann. I spent 9 years in the Seanad, and I found that House, compared to the Dáil thus far more productive and a lot more scope to allow people to make contributions, particularly in their order of business. And you and I, Les Caherlick, shared a term in Seanad Éireann, and you will know from your own experience, it is a very fine House, hugely in need of reform. And I think when it comes to the political, if we kowtow to the debate that is inherently anti-politics, that it be Town Council, County Council, Dáil and Seanad Éireann, we are pandering to an agenda, I believe, that is very cynical, and in many respects it's led by a right-wing media. So I would say the Seanad is a fine House. I would like to see it being reformed as opposed to abolished.